Kirk Bloodsworth was a man who had never been in trouble with the law. In 1985, at the age of 22 years old, he was charged with the murder and sexual assault of a 9-year-old girl and sentenced to death, all on the basis of 5 witness testimonials. After serving 8 long, tough years on death row, DNA evidence from the girl's underwear proved Kirk was completely innocent. The fate of a man's life had been decided by the ability of the human mind to recall facts. You see, our memory is inherently fallible. We're great at creating ideas, not so much at storing them, much to the dismay of Bloodsworth and his family. That was back in 1985. Today, we also experience a constant information overload, whether it's the internet, your phone, social media apps. How much of the information from the past week have you actually remembered? We're also living in an increasingly competitive world. Whether you're still at school, whether you're at university, whether you're a working professional, or you run your own business, you will have a serious advantage if you're able to process, remember, and action even a small percentage of the information you encounter on a daily basis. So, what's the answer? You need to create an electronic extension of your mind, a kind of second brain, one that never forgets and is better suited to the digital age that you live in. But before we look at how you can do that, you might be thinking, Callum, I don't need your cyborg robot brain. The one my mommy and daddy gave me works just fine. What happened to our friend Bloodsworth was not a fluke. When asking witnesses to try and identify the guilty party from a police lineup, police or investigators will often add innocent people in the mix who look somewhat similar to the suspect in order to test the recognition memory of the witnesses. These people are known as fillers. 4 studies looked at thousands of real crime cases that used police lineups to try to identify how often did these witnesses select the fillers from the lineup. They revealed that the fillers were identified 1/5 of the time, 20% of the time. Can you really trust your memory? Let me give you another example. Have you ever walked into a room with a clear intention, but the moment you walk into the room, you completely forget what you were going to do? Well, Radvansky and colleagues did an interesting study to put this to the test. Participants put on headphones, sat in a dark room, were given a joystick, and were playing a computer simulation up on a projector. They had to pick up colored objects from a table and carry it either across one long room or across 2 smaller rooms. The distance traveled was roughly the same. The thing was, as soon as they picked up this object, started moving, the object would disappear. And then on the screen, there would be a pop-up of an object. And they would be asked, is this the color and shape you were carrying, or is it not? Sometimes it was, and sometimes it wasn't. They found that moving through the doorway reduced the availability of information in the memory. In other words, walking between those simple 2 rooms meant people were less able to remember the object they had just picked up. So the brain you have isn't good enough. Tough luck. But before you resign yourself to living with the tigers and the apes in the jungle, what was this video about again? Oh yes, of course, creating a second brain. So what is a second brain? Well, the second brain is an external system for you to capture, to assign, and to recall information easily and from anywhere. So why is it so effective? Well, it allows your brain to not have to worry about processing and remembering the constant information you face each day. Not only this, but you actually remember and take action on the things you encounter that matter. Think about it this way. You think of a great business plan, but you need to go and use the toilet. You don't have to worry about your puny little brain getting wiped every time you walk through the doorway. And also, people will think you have a big brain and that you can remember loads. So there's 3 key components to a second brain. D-A-R. Dump, assign, review. The first stage of the second brain is dump. You need somewhere, a place or a thing where you can write down information and actions you encounter during the day very quickly and efficiently. You need to be able to write things down here from anywhere, whether you're at home at your desk working, on the toilet, or if you're out for a walk. And you need to get into the habit of tracking down anything important throughout your day. For example, you could use an electronic to-do list. Maybe you're watching a YouTube video that inspires you for a new idea for your ad campaign. You quickly write it down in your electronic to-do list and you continue watching the video. Maybe you're more of a paper person. you want to use an A5 paper calendar. Let's say you're out walking and you remember that you need to buy a necklace for your mom's birthday next Saturday. So you open up your calendar, you quickly write a little note, mom's birthday necklace on Saturday. So the second stage is assign. And this falls into 3 key buckets. Number 1, when dumping items down, you need to be able to assign them a date. For example, we're walking, we remember we need to buy our mom a gift, but we need to do it on Saturday. So we need to be able to note it down quickly and effectively from anywhere, down under the date, Saturday. The second bucket is non-dated items. For example, you're watching that YouTube video and you have inspiration for your next ad campaign. You don't need to do that on Saturday, but you want to track it so that you can review it in the future. Bucket 2 is a place to store non-dated items. For example, you could write it at the bottom of your list for the day in your calendar. You have all your dated items, and at the bottom you just have a little list of things that popped into your head that you quickly wanted to track. Or in an electronic system, it could be an inbox, a bucket, or a project of some kind that doesn't have dates. So under assign, we've got bucket 1, dated items tracked under the day they need to be done. Non-dated items that are tracked in a list. Bucket 3 is a place to store reference material for future use. Think of it like your electronic memory. Maybe you need to store a pricing list or a photograph or an old essay. I highly recommend using an electronic system with a good search function. The third component of the second brain is review. Now on a daily basis, you review the actions that are assigned to that day. On a weekly basis, you review your non-dated items in your list or bucket. For example, if you use a paper calendar, you go back through the week and look at the little items, the non-dated items you wrote at the bottom of each page maybe, so that you can action them, you can defer them, you can delete them, you can remember them and take action on them. If you have an electronic to-do list, maybe you have an inbox or a bucket where you just added all these items in. So at the end of the week, you just look through them and make sure you take appropriate action. And finally, you review the reference information in your electronic memory as and when you require it. So in essence, our second brain has 2 components. It has the working brain component, where we constantly, easily, wherever we are, dump ideas down and assign them to dated or non-dated. And then we have the electronic memory component of our brain, which is some sort of electronic cloud storage system where you put all your reference material away, which you can then call on at any point through an efficient search function. Now for the example of this video, I've kept the second brain system very, very simple, and I think you should too. Of course, you can add projects, you can add labels, you can add stickers, but the most important thing, especially for the capture part of this, where you're dumping ideas down, keep it simple. You want to be able to do it wherever you are consistently, and if there's barriers and loads of steps involved and labels, it becomes very difficult to do that. Personally, I use Todoist as my working brain, which is an electronic to-do list app. I use Microsoft OneDrive, a cloud storage application, as my working memory. On a day-to-day basis, I can dump items into my electronic to-do list application, either by date or by non-dated items in a place known as the inbox. I can do this on my phone while I'm out and about quickly if something pops into my head, or I can do this at home on my laptop. On a daily basis, I review the items I've assigned to today, kind of like a standard to-do list. On a weekly basis, I review the items in my inbox so I can revisit them and make sure I haven't missed anything. And finally, I review my OneDrive system using the search function whenever I need a specific item or reference. So Bloodsworth's case and these experiments on memory loss between rooms show us that our memory really is fallible. This is even more of an issue in a world with increasing information overload. The second brain is a simple and effective tool to take advantage of this information overload in a digital world. Just remember, DAR. Dump items quickly and effectively from anywhere. Assign them to a date or to a non-dated list. Review your dated items daily. Review your non-dated items weekly. Use a searchable electronic system for reference material. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel, or at least note it down in your second brain so you don't forget. It should only take a second.